Billy. They both lived at Graceland. Marty Lacker, a high school friend who helped him take care of business. Patsy Lacker, Marty's wife. They lived with Elvis too. Pat Parry, his Beverly Hills hairdresser, who saw him laugh and saw him cry. Kong Ree, Memphis karate teacher who named him Mr. Tiger. Harry Levitch, a Memphis jeweler and friend for 20 years. He made the wedding rings for Elvis and Priscilla.
Elvis Presley and I both grew up together in Mississippi. His father and my father knew each other many, many years ago, long before I ever knew Elvis Presley. And then my family, like his family, came to Memphis to work many years ago. And the next encounter I had with Elvis, of course, was through the fact that he went to the same high school where my wife graduated, and they graduated in the same class. And then, of course, years after that, of course, renewed our acquaintance from those days in high school, and when I was sheriff of this community, and spent a great deal of time with him then.
My father and Elvis's mother were brother and sister, and we moved to Memphis together with them in 1948 to the same apartment building. In fact, we even shared the same community bath. In 1957, Elvis bought Graceland. My father was the first gate guard that worked for him, and we also moved there with him. In 1961, right after I got out of high school, I went to work for Elvis, taking care of his wardrobe and things like that. The last couple of years, I spent about 18 hours out of a day with him, and of course, we rode motorcycles and various other things. And in fact, I was with him even the morning he passed away.
The first time I met Elvis Presley, I was 13 years old. And I had never, I didn't follow Elvis. You know, my older sister was more of an Elvis fan. Billy and I went to the same high school. And I was going with him at the time, and he wanted to take me up to meet his cousin. And I was scared to death. I didn't want to go. And he said, well, you got to be crazy. You know, I've never met anybody that didn't want to meet Elvis. So I had on my bobby socks, my little cheerleading sweater, my pleated skirt and all, you know. So I had my back to the entranceway, and I knew the minute he walked in, I just felt this cold, you know, feeling. I guess I was breaking out in a cold sweat. But I knew he was in the room without even turning around.
Elvis and I went to the last year of high school together, 1953. He was a little bit of a loner. I had just moved from New York a few months previous to that, and he dressed very unusual for Memphis. We were dressing that way in New York with loud clothes and always wore your collar up. Of course, he had the long hair and the sideburns, where most kids of that day and time had their hair in a crew cut. Well, he just before I went into the service in '54, he cut his first big record for Sun Records, and when I got back out, he had already become famous in '57. We renewed our friendship then. And in 1961, he asked me to go to work for him. And the next day, we left to go do Kid Galahad. And in '64, I became what we call the foreman of the Memphis Mafia. I was his personal bookkeeper and more or less his right-hand man. And in '67, he gave me the honor of being the best man at his wedding, along with Joe Esposito.
Marty and I lived at Graceland in the '60s. We lived in an apartment built onto the side of the house. My youngest daughter was born while we were living at Graceland. At that time, Priscilla was only 16 years old. And she was a lot of company for me when Marty and the other guys were in California with Elvis making movies. His grandmother lived there too at the time. He called her Dodger.
I met Elvis when I was 17 years old. It was the highlight of my life. I knew him for like 20 years, 22 years. Grew up with him, spent a lot of time. Had the best time of my life. It was fabulous. You know, I came from just a regular family and just fell into a world of millionaire, superstar, and got to share his life. That was the thing. He wanted everybody to share his life with him, people that were important to him, to just have all the fine things, and all the fun, and all the excitement, and the glamour. It was great. I had a blast.
So I give you this guitar for your martial art and then my entertaining exchange. It's sincerely exchange, and his autograph for me. And he told me one time that entertaining and then martial art is almost the same discipline.
In walks a very handsome young man, all in black. And he walked up to me and he said, "Mr. Leverage," and he held out his hand, and I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "I'm Elvis Presley." And he says, "You don't know me, but someday I'm going to be famous. And when I get to be famous, you're going to be my jeweler."
What was Elvis really like? Who knows better than those who were close to him? They affectionately called him crazy.
Elvis had a great deal of respect for law and order.
He liked badges. He collected badges from all over, everywhere, all kind of police badges. He even had a police uniform.
He was probably the only non-paid Secret Service agent ever in the country as a volunteer or an honorary position, because the President of the United States bestowed that honor on him.
He just wanted to have enough money in his bank account to write a check to buy anything he wanted to buy whenever he wanted to buy it. Elvis had beautiful taste in jewelry. He tended to like big, unusual pieces.
All the jewelry that he wore on stage was all real. A lot of people asked if it was costume jewelry or real jewelry, because a lot of times he would throw away a particular ring or something like that out into the audience. But all of it was real jewelry.
We used to go to movies just about every night, all night long, from about midnight till 6 in the morning. See 2, 3, 4 pictures in a row. The last time he came into our Peabody Hotel store, the crowd that suddenly appeared and literally began to break the windows, made us lock the doors. And even then, it was just impossible for him to concentrate. So we had